on the other things such as alt charts and all other things you people wanted to discuss about. So I thought maybe weekend's a good time to do that. So yeah, let's begin. So you know the plan on BTC for now is pretty much the same. We have these previous range lows, these macro range lows, and when we switch to a bit of lower time frame, we see, for me, let's just remove this short position. So for me, there is so much of the levels to flip above. We have this 4 hour supply, we have this 4 hour imbalance to be filled, we have this macro range lows to be flipped. I am not going to be bullish right below these things, right? So for me the plan is still the same, which I have like mentioned hundred of times, is that until or unless we see acceptance and trend above 27.1, there doesn't make much sense to try some major long exposures. And when I say that, I do get a few members tagging me that when you say you don't want to long anything or something, then why are you in such place, such as why are you in a gal position, or why were you STMX long or something, right? So when I say that I don't want to have any upside exposure, or I am bearish short term, means I am bearish on BTC, I am bearish on ETH, I am bearish on major caps, high caps, and all the stuff that moves together, right? Like for example, we I was bearish yesterday, I was in the sol short, but at the same time we entered STMX play and we got a 20% move out of it, right? Those shit coins doesn't care about what's the direction of the market, right? So those plays doesn't matter, and those plays are not based on my directional bias on the market. So when I am saying something, that's my overall bias on the market, not specifically on some random coin, right? So that is the reason I just let GAL and STMX play out. STMX gave a decent move. I still like this GAL chart a lot. So, even when you look at this price action on GAL, it isn't affected by what's happening around the market, right? These shitcoins doesn't really care. So I can at the same time be bearish on the market, I can at the same time short high caps, but at the same time I can get some upside exposure on shit coins and low cap coins for to ride the squeeze moves up, right? So hope that's clear. So you know and now, if we have discussed about these levels which need to be flipped, and even if we ignore all that, we see this equal lows which like 90% of the times get taken out before any major upside move, right? So even if we see a push up without taking these lows, for me it would be for shorts, right? And watch. And what high time frame point of interest I am looking for shorts is that I can give you a lot of examples on how once you see a impulsive sell down on H4 candle, every time the next retest of the 4 hour imbalance equilibrium is for shorts, right? So we saw a impulsive 4 hour sell down over here. When we draw out our imbalance, it comes around here, right? And you can see how perfectly it just tapped the equilibrium of the imbalance over here. Let me just clarify the lines more. So you have this imbalance equilibrium over here. You can see a strong impulsive sell off, and the next time price revisited and did fill in the imbalance equilibrium, see the sell off we got out of that, right? And there are a lot of other examples as well. So I am expecting the same to happen here, that we are if we see a push up without taking these lows, so you draw out your H4 imbalance, and which comes around over here, and you have this imbalance equilibrium, and you see a push up on the market, and we tap 26.9 around 27k, and as soon as see some lower time frame loss of momentum, some curling down price action, I would start positioning into more shorts, right? So that's kind of my short play, because entering here, the shorts for me would be pretty clear invalidation, because if price doesn't reject after this imbalance fill and continues to trend higher, for me that's really bullish, right? Because the price gave no rejection of some any sort out of this imbalance fill, no rejection out of the supply, no rejection out of this macro, range lows bearish retest. So if the price passes through all this and starts trending above 27.1, that's your invalidation, right? So if once we see a move up to fill this imbalance equilibrium, it's a clear invalidation short for me. So, hoping that if we get a push up on the market, we are able to play this. So, and that this setup that I just discussed would be much more higher conviction if we just leave these lows like this. Because if we take out these lows and, consolidate for some time and then see a push up, maybe I still try something over here, but that wouldn't be of as much size and conviction that I would have if we just keep these lows over here and see a push before that, right? So, that's the kind of lower time frame plan I have on BTC. Also, to be honest, ETH, I don't even want to have any proper plan on ETH, considering how weak ETH to BTC looks. Doesn't really matter if, for me, if we start to flip back, above 1610, which would probably go in line with BTC flipping back 27k, yeah, maybe then that's the place where I might bet on some alts long, right? Before that, I am not interested in ETH, because even when you look at ETH to BTC, even though the reason, since yesterday you saw some alts showing some kind of relief, running higher, seeing some high caps even coming on your gainers list, is the reason ETH to BTC showed some kind of a relief up, right? But again, grinding back down. So when I look at higher time frame chart on ETH to BTC, nothing interesting so far. So as long as ETH to BTC higher time frame charts keeps on looking like this, you need to be really cautious on having alts exposure. So and especially the way stocks closed. So when I look at my higher time frame ES chart, I considered this as my 4-hour support, right? We saw a few deviations below. We held the support at this retest, but what you can see over here is we tried to reclaim, did a bearish retest, and got sold back down, right? Not denying the possibility that maybe it was just, a sweep of these last swing lows and it ends up trending back above. But until we see that, things look really bearish on the stocks as well. Another thing that concerns me is that in the past bear market, what we have seen is on all the times when most of the crypto was let down by the stock sell off, which we saw past few days, stocks kept on selling down and eventually pulled BTC down as well. Usually if the crypto was bullish, as soon as markets used to close, as soon as futures used to close on ES, we used to get a decent weekend push up on BTC, considering you don't have that stock sell off hanging over your head, right? But what we saw yesterday was, despite this thing ending, despite the markets closing on stocks, we saw no major bounce on BTC, right? BTC was just chopping around here. So that is also something that still concerns me, because if this sell off was just something that was the result of crypto, of the stock sell off, then we should have seen some kind of a bounce going into the weekend, which we haven't. So another thing to do consider. Also, what other things can we look at? STMX, pretty decent play we got, like around a 20% move. And to be honest, I think it's pretty much done for now, because these shit coins, you just expect them to keep trending above. If they do something like this, then yeah, they should be pretty much done for now. Other than that, SFP, to be honest, I am still bullish on this daily chart. And the reason I closed was for all the reasons I mentioned, right? Due to the BTC not looking good on lower time frame, these lows still to be taken out, no major bounce despite stocks closing, ETH to BTC reversing back down. So all those reasons made me reduce my exposure on alts, because no matter how good your setup looks, if those things play out, you know it's highly likely that SFP goes down as well. So that's the reason I reduced my any upside exposure. Still think it is one of the charts. I don't know, I just get some kind of a flashback on the structure, and I believe it could run higher in coming time. Also, you can see this tight accumulation on SFP, and it finally broke out, and ever since it broke out on higher time frame, it is still maintaining the bullish structure, right? Higher highs, higher lows. Despite other alts doing this for the past few weeks, SFP has been doing quite opposite. So it is one of the alts that still has its structure intact. And if we get a push down on the market, which we discussed about, that if we see BTC pushing down towards the previous range highs, we take out these lows, and we see some consolidation while SFP is still holding above this daily level, I might consider re-entering. Till then, I'll just stick to maintaining my alts, limiting my alts upside exposure. So what other things we can discuss? Band, I was looking for a band play today, considering Link was looking bullish, because usually when Link pumps, these coins do follow band API 3 TRB. Just gets out of the context for now, considering how much of a run it already had. But usually band, TRB, API 3, these are the coins that usually follow the Link run, right? But nothing so far, so I just let it go. Even when I look at the lower time frame on BTC, when I zoom out, what I see is just the structure, right? We keep on leaving behind these lows, and eventually we are going to go for them, right? So unless this structure just revolves, because I mentioned this in the past stream as well, right now all it seems is, let me go to the early time frame. So for now, all it seems is a deviation at the top, strong sell off, and just a dead cat bounce with a grind up, leaving behind poor lows to be taken out, right? So I don't expect this lower time frame structure to be really bullish, right? For it to be bullish, maybe we see a breakdown, take out of this lows, then acceptance back above, a bit of consolidation, and you enter at the strange break, right? Something of this sort of on lower time frame. But right now there is nothing, neither on high time frame nor on lower time frame. So that's it. Maybe I even I'll not try limiting the shot on it, to be honest, because you never know, it just pierces right through it. So I'll much just rather set my alarms around this imbalance equilibrium, and once we see a tap and loss of momentum from there, we start scaling into shots. Sol, I am still in, looks pretty weak. We can go with the reasoning for my Sol shot once again. You can see this is the range we were in for Sol, right? From 25.4 up till 19.9 till 20.1, whatever, that region of range lows, right? So what we saw was, previously we broke down from these range lows, did a bearish retest, got sold back down, right? Same goes for what happened right now. We took some liquidity around these highs, try to reclaim back this range lows, and sold back down. And when I look on the when I zoom in a bit, what I see is a pair of these triple equal lows resting right at this SR level, right? So for me, unless Sol gives a pullback at least towards 18.5, 18.6, I don't think you should be betting anything big on upside, right? So even if we do push up, we get a push, we can push up, and we see something like this, we take out the highs and trend, and retest this trend risk that for me would be for adding to shorts. So, even if we push up on Sol, I'll add more to shorts and then target back the 18.6 area. Sol, I'm still really bearish on. Doesn't seem anything near to being bullish, because also considering, when ETH to BTC is bearish, every major you have, major and high cap alts you there are in the market, you get to be bearish on them as well. It's just a simple logic, right? If ETH to BTC is bearish, if there isn't money going into ETH, there isn't money going into any other major, right? Unless they have some really bullish catalyst going on, which isn't in the case of Sol. So, just short high caps, try to ride momentum on shit coins and low caps, and you'd be good to go in coming days, to be honest. So, voice breaking, bro. Is the voice now fine, or is it still breaking up? Okay, that's great. So, before we move to the alt charts and members requesting alt charts, if you have anything you have to ask regarding the plan we discussed on ETH and BTC, or anything we discussed about how stocks looks, or if anything about next week plan, feel free to answer, and then we feel free to ask, and then we move on to the alt charts request. Nothing. Can we get more downside exposure? Yes. To be honest, I do also feel a bit underexposed on shorts. I don't know why I'm mumbling words today, but yeah, I do feel underexposed on shorts, because I am only in like 50% of the position on Sol short. That's it. I don't have any other short exposure right now. We got a short on BTC around 27.1, which we TP'd around 27.5, 27.6. And the Sol is the only exposure I have, right? So I do want to increase a bit of my short exposure, but to be honest, entering right here could be a bit risky, because if you enter over here, your invalidation going to be pretty wide, because it's you have to wait for at least around what, like a 2% move on BTC for your idea to be invalidated. And considering how overly sold ETH to BTC is, you never know if BTC gives you that push up, the alts might see some strong relief, right? So I don't want to be caught in between anything of that sort, right? So for me, it's much better to wait for my triggers, which would be if we get a retest of this equilibrium, H4 imbalance equilibrium, because when I enter shorts here, my invalidation is just few $100 above, right? Not like a hard invalidation, but once I see acceptance a few $100 above, I'll just get out of my shorts for a very small loss, right? But entering over here would mean that I am risking more than I feel comfortable usually. So either, and also I want to enter high probable plays, because we are not in the game of predicting moves, right? We want to enter high probable setups, and for me it would be much more higher probability to enter at extremes, because for me right now this is the lower time frame range I have to play in, right? From 27k, 26.9k being my range highs, and 26.3 being my range lows, right? So I have to trade at either of these two extremes. Right now, we are just in the middle. So, just wait for some move on the market, and then we position ourselves accordingly. Link and ship pumping. Yeah, I saw that. Link, I did see. I didn't notice ship. Let's see what's ship doing. Yeah, ship's pumping. We can even shift to coinalize to see if you could get any momentum play out of it. But yeah, I don't think there would be any. Yeah, I'll just let it go. Is there any point in checking banana gun? What is banana gun? Or I don't know. Can you please teach us how you use fib levels? So I have mentioned it a lot of times. I don't trade the fib tool specifically, right? There is a whole other concept of how to trade fibs. Different levels, people have those golden pocket 0.61, whatever those levels are. I don't trade fibs specifically. The only reason I use this fib tool is just to mark out my equilibrium levels, right? I trade imbalances, right? So in order to mark out my imbalance equilibrium, if you don't want to use fib, there are FEG indicators over the trading view indicators list. I remember what the one I used to use, nephew Sam, is good, I think. I don't know if that marks out the equilibrium level for you. So you can use this tool as well. There are few FEG to indicators that even give you this equilibrium level. So like it's I have explained to you the concept of FAG and equilibrium. It's just the gap between an impulsive candle, right? So you can just manually draw it out, and through your fib tool just get the zero point 0.5 equilibrium level, right? So this is the level. So the I don't trade Fibonacci concept. I only use fib tool to mark out my either my range, right? Because it's much instead of manually plotting out my range with few trend lines, I rather just like to pull out this fib tool and just mark out my range like this, right? It's much easier than doing drawing out the trend line. So I don't trade Fibonacci concept, I just use it to my convenience. Bro, I'm learning price action. Should I trade it on 5 minute candle or best session for scalp in your opinion? So, if first of all, if you are learning price action, you need to be a bit, more uh, explanatory with what you mean that you are learning price action. If you're asking me on what time frames are better suitable, to be honest, that's something that's subjective. But what I usually recommend people is start initially with your higher time frames, get your levels drawn from higher time frame charts, higher time frame levels. Like for example, like even if I want to trade BTC at this area, right? So I would switch to my daily chart, I would get out my levels drawn from this daily time frame, right? And once I have my levels from daily time frame, you know you can see now I have this clean range to have some kind of a higher time frame context to my reasoning, right? Because whenever you enter a play, you have to build a proper thesis on why you entered a play, right? So in order to have that higher time frame context to your thesis, it's much better to have some kind of higher time frame levels drawn. So you can see from daily time frame, I marked out my range, and when I switch to lower time frame, I know where we are on higher time frame right now. Like for example, if we are somewhere here, and before I switch to higher time frame, just looking at my daily time frame, I can see we are somewhere near the range lows, right? So I would have a much higher conviction on my low time frame plays entering on upside long position rather than entering a downside short position, right? So when I switch to my lower time frame, wait a minute, what happened to my chart? So I guess moving back to that would take much longer. So I hope you get the concept is that like all these levels I have on my chart, they are mostly from daily and 12-hour levels, right? Once I have those levels, then I switch to lower time frames, and then I execute based on my lower time frame triggers, right? Once I know that, for example, let's take an arbitrary example. So, once I know I have my range marked from higher time frames, this is my range. I got this out of a higher time frame level. Now switch to my lower time frame, and usually I prefer 30 minutes and 5 minutes time frame for my low time frame triggers. So I know this is my macro range highs which I got from my high time frame level. And now once price is at range lows, now if I look for those triggers on higher time frame, for example, if I look for a deviation and acceptance and trend back structure break on daily, the time when I would get that, most probably the price would already have been completed its move up, right? Waiting for your triggers on higher time frame most of the time means that you miss most of the move out, right? So you get your point of interest and levels from higher time frame but execute on your lower time frames, right? So I switch to my lower time frame, or maybe on 5 minute or 30-minute time frame, and then I look for these triggers, maybe just a sweep and deviation below range lows, break of structure back above, a bit of consolidation. When I see this on 5 minute time frame, this kind of a 5 minute price action on a daily range lows, that is something I like to trade, right? I don't like to get my levels, like people like to draw their levels out of 30 minutes 1 hour time frame, right? People get their levels from 15 minutes and take the price action triggers also on the 15 minutes, right? This is not something that would give you some high probable setup. So you need your higher time frame levels, and you need your lower time frame execution triggers to for you to get some higher probable setups. Maybe if that makes sense, or if I was able to communicate something. So in Coinalyze, we see the current GAL consolidation is not supported by OI. How do you use that usually? Do you do weakness? So, ever since I shared my Coinalyze setups with people, now, a lot of members have just started observing it and, making conclusions out of that, right? So, for the only place you need to look at those indicators, those data that Coinalyze gives you about the open interest and the fundings and the spot FUTS bid, is that once you see a decent trending price action, right? For example, if price is doing something like this, only then I switch to my Coinalyze to see if this move is supported by some good momentum on the open interest. Open interest is piling up, spot and what's happening with the spot and FUT CVDs are trending up. If I see something like this on Coinalyze, that indicates me of a really bullish momentum, right? Now what people have started doing ever since I discussed all those plays is that people look at this kind of a price action, right? Nothing major going on, just a pure chop. And then people switch to Coinalyze. They would look at this move, right? They would look at this move and they would say, look, HBJ, the open interest is going up while this is going down. Doesn't matter, because even when the price action is ranging, is in a tight chop, is you would see long position, longs opening, shorts covering, longs covering, and open interest moving along as well, right? So you don't need to closely observe every single move on a market and compare it with how OI is performing, right? The only place I like to the only uh, scenario where I look to gather data from Coinalyze is once I see a trending price action, whether it's towards upside, or even if it's like a strong sell down going on, right? It's a strong downtrend, strong sell down. I want to see whether it's overall the market is just get turning bearish, overall the CVDs are turning down, and and open interest is also going down, meaning the longs are getting stopped out, the longs are covering and all that, right? But if and that doesn't give me anything interesting, right? Like if the price is trending down in a strong downtrend and OI is going down as well, CVDs are pointing down as well, that doesn't give you anything interesting. The only interesting thing I could get out of a downtrend is if the price is going down and instead open interest keeps on building up, right? And maybe even the uh, spot CVD is either flat or going up as well, right? That indicates me that this majority of the move down was just pushed down by shorts, right? So in that case, if I begin to see any kind of a lower time frame reversal, structure break, that could be a decent squeeze play to enter, right? So the only place you need to look at Coinalyze and open interest and CVDs is once you see a trending price action. You don't need to see it every other second and see, oh, in the last candle was bearish and OI went up, means more shorts are entering, so maybe we should long. Doesn't make sense, because yes, maybe you are right that since there was a bearish sell down and OI went up, meaning shorts are building up, but even in the range, the shorts are building up, the longs are building up, shorts are covering, longs are covering. That's the reason you form a range, right? So just because few shorts opened on a coin doesn't mean you try to counter trade it and start entering longs, or if a lot of longs are opening up within a range, you start shorting it just because the longs would eventually get flushed, right? So that thesis doesn't work unless you get a trending price action as well. Also, if you want to see how I trade my CoinLive setup, I have gone through in the past streams. I have also pinned a lot of examples. I usually call a lot of momentum plays as well. I share my thesis, I share my CoinLive charts. So rather try going over them instead of finding random. And even if you want to try your CoinLive trading skills, look for alts like let me share the screen and explain it to you. Let me open CoinLive on my browser. So can you see my browser screen right now? Just reply fast. Okay. So a lot of people ask about how to find out the right shitcoin and how to select your coins. So unless you have a really good memory like me, because I just memorize, I have most of the shitcoins in my memory, right? So if I see shitcoins popping up and I believe that this is the time where shitcoins are going to give good scam moves up, I just randomly start searching up a lot of coins I just have in my head, right? Even if you don't have that, just switch to your Coinalyze, right? There are two thresholds on which you can identify which coins have those shitcoin. Shitcoin is just a label on those coins, right? Doesn't mean that they are actually shit. It's just what people say to the coins that keep running up regardless of the market, right? Those are typically the shit coins, right? So the one of the two thresholds that you need to look at is, first, you see what coins have the highest open interest change on the 24-hour time, right? So you can see a lot of them doesn't even have, like KNC. You see KNC running up today. You can also see OI being at the top, right? The OI changed in the past 24 hours. This gives you theta anchor. I would just ignore all these. You can see, at STMX, the play we took, it is in the top OI 24-hour change, right? IDX also gave some good move. You can see SHIB popping up, right? So you can see majority of your gainers coin come when you just arrange them according to the highest OI change in the past 24 hours, right? And if you want to, this is if you want to see the shit coins that have a potential to run at that specific day, right? You look at the coins that have given the highest change on 24 hours on the open interest, right? Another thing that I usually like to look at is you go to this column and you add another one, which is OI per market cap, right? So you go to OI per market cap and you arrange them in a descending order, and the coins which have the highest OI per market cap, right? For example, look at Acro, or Acro had pretty much is pretty much done with its run. So I would just ignore Acro for coming time. But for example, look at TRB, right? It has 1.45 times the market cap is in its open interest, right? In its contract margin contracts, right? So these are the, most of the shit coins that you saw running for the past 2 months, you would see them in the top OI per market cap ratio, right? You can see TRB at top, you can see FLM, you can see BLZ, Stodge, Liver, Cyber, Perp, HIFI, Tomo, ZRX, AMB, Bake, Unfi, ARK, Lina. These are all every single coin that at least ran 50 to 100% in the past 2 months, right? So if you want to create a list of a shitcoin list that people usually ask that what coins to have, go to your Coinalyze, get this OI to market cap ratio and arrange your coins in a descending order, and get mark down the top 20 list you get out of this, right? You have OG and you have Lit, you have Bell, you have Key, all these coins that have a potential to give you some decent momentum plays in coming time, right? So something that you could, so OI to market cap, get that, get your shitcoin list from this. And once I just every morning I like to wake, when I wake up, I like to, open up my Coinalyze and look on the coins that are at the top of this OI to 24-hour change, right? Like right now, I see KNC had a 165% gain on open interest, right? Once I see that, I would switch to the KNC chart and I would see if I see any, you know, bullish triggers for me to enter, right? The amount of time I have spent on this platform, I guess I need to buy the premium because this 10-second timeout is pretty annoying. So, now you have a decent trending momentum coin, right? I wouldn't ideally call KNC as a typical shit coin because it usually just moves with the market, but yeah, sometime it does just start becoming an outlier. But so what I am seeing right now is something that has been running up strong with a good OI push up, right? Almost a 165% push up on open interest, right? So this is kind of a coin that I would keep in my radar. And how would I like to play it is that you have you by now you should know what I like to, how I why is the fib tools doing like this. Okay, I can just go with my trend lines. So the kind of setups I like to play on these trending coins. Once either I like to play the momentum coins, ride the momentum while it's going up, like we did on STMX, right? If I saw open interest constantly building up, CVD spot CVD is going up, right? I would just enter a momentum play with invalidation of it rolling back down, and we could have gotten a good move out of it. Now, considering I have missed all that, the play and a valid setup I could look for is that after this strong run KNC have had, now KNC goes for a bit of consolidation phase, right? It exhausts, shows bit of exhaustion, consolidates, and while it's ranging, open interest keeps on piling up, right? While we are seeing this range on the price on KNC, you see a decent build up on open interest, right? Open interest keeps on piling up. So, it does something like this, like goes another 30-40% up. And after it's finished up with its consolidation, once I start to see a trending up price action, meaning constant lower, higher lows, right? This is where I enter a breakout play and I target a 10 to 20% move at the breakout, right? So, I have mentioned all these triggers and how to identify these coins over my corner. So you can go over there, go to the pinned section. I have mentioned it along with the examples on the things I look at, on what triggers I look at and how do I play that. But the reason I went over it again today was that how to identify them in the first place, right? Like by now you should be knowing how do I play them, but how do I even find that I have to trade KNC, right? For that you just need to go on your Coinalyze homepage and arrange your alts as per OI 24-hour change and OI per market cap, right? So I hope those it was a bit helpful. Are these usually too risky to short? Yeah, to be honest, I don't. You need to know what kind of which setups give you a higher probability. For me, when I'm playing these shit coins and momentum play, I'm much more profitable just riding the momentum and going long, right? I don't usually uh, find many higher probable setups in which I just short the top, right? Maybe like kind of a top you got an FLM yesterday, right? It gave you a 20% blow of top. Oh, I got washed up. You saw some big short liquidation, but even after that, the price went on grinding up, revisited the wick highs, and then completely died down, right? So even if I had entered at that blow of top, I might would have gotten stopped out, and then it would have died. So till now I haven't found a good profitable short setup to short down the shit coin. So I would much rather just do what I am good at, just ride the momentum and go long on them. Do you use Safari to see charts on trading, or you can use it for coin? What, like, I use the trading view app for my trading view charts, and I use Safari for the coinlize stuff. So yeah, we can switch back to our trading view. Why do you use custom time like 12 hour between 1 day and 4 hour? It's not a custom, it's 12 hour is usually a really good time frame that I believe gives you a much cleaner price action. Like for example, the gal setup I took was mainly based on the 12-hour chart. So I don't know, everyone has their own preference, but for me 12-hour chart, to be honest, personally, is the most cleanest price action I have see on higher time frame. Between, not even if I have to choose between daily or and 12 hour, much rather prefer 12-hour time frame, because for me 12-hour is much more cleaner. I don't know why, it's just maybe just my it's just subjective which time frame you choose, right? For me, I really like to where if I want to get some high time frame context for my trade thesis, I would much rather shift to 12 hours instead of 4 hour or daily. How hard do you party on weekends? I am right now sitting on my desk. I did go out for dinner, so yeah, I am back and just getting across my charts. Still short for BTC and ETH. I haven't taken any short on BTC and ETH. Yes, we were short on BTC from 27.1. We TP it mostly around 26.5, 26.6. Now if you were in the stream from the start, you should know where I am looking to re-enter the BTC short. So yeah, that's the plan for now. If you are asking that, am I still bearish on BTC and ETH? Yes, I am, unless we see a flip back above on the market. Would you please notify us when and if we get that scam bomb on BTC and Sol to add to our shorts? Obviously, I will tell. I am not just coming on the stream to tell you that I am going to take it on my own and not let anyone else. Obviously, I'll call out some short plays for the group. But for Sol, you just place your limit shorts, to be honest. And if we get a push up, just let those limits get filled. Obviously, I won't tell you that yo, my second bid got filled, yo, my third bid got filled. I have just placed my Sol short bids. So if we see a push up on market, I'll be just automatically adding to my Sol short. Can you show your CoinLize column preferences again? What's there to show about? You just need to go to CoinLize, go to your homepage, arrange, like, okay, I'll go one last time again. you know, just you go to Coinalyze. This is your home page. These are your columns. you know on the default settings, you only get OI change per 24 hours, right? You go to, click on this column thing, and then shows what other things do you need to add, right? So what I like to add is, where did it go, this open interest per market cap, right? So once you have this open interest per market cap, you click on these arrows, and the Coinalize arranges all these coins for you in a descending manner, meaning the highest OI per market cap shows at the top, and then it goes in the descending order. So this is how you get your top shit coins to trade. And if you want to look at what specific coins to trade at a day, I would switch to OI per OI change in 24 hours. I'll click on these arrows, and it would give me the coins with the highest OI change in the past 24 hours, right? These are the coins I would like to trade for some momentum plays throughout the day. So, in summary, first of all, go to your OI to market cap and the coins you find at the top. Then look for which one of those coins are in this list, right? Like, for example, even if Theta is coming at this list at the top of OI 24-hour change, I won't look to go for momentum plays on Theta, because Theta isn't a typical shit coin kind of a thing that keeps on running, right? Theta is something that gives you a 8 to 10% move and then just dies down, right? So I would go to my OI to market cap, and the coins, I top 20 coins I find out of that list, I'll then see which one of those coins are coming at the top of my OI change 24-hour list, right? If I have any of those coins in that list, like for example, when you go to your OI to market cap list and arrange it in the descending order, you will find STMX coming at the top, right? Once you now switch to OI to 24-hour change, you see, right, again you have STMX with 36% OI to in 24-hour change, right? Then I know STMX is something that I need to open up and see if I get any triggers to enter, right? I hope that's clear. Okay, now let's get back to the trading view. Okay, so you know from my side, that was all I had to discuss. We talked about ETH, BTC, we talked about markets, we talked about anything you wanted to. Now let me know what other things you want to discuss, and I am up for that. Can you go over Gal? Okay, Gal, Cyber, STX. Okay. Okay, we can go over all those coins one by one. Just let me take a 1 minute break. Okay, let's start. Can you go over Gal? Okay, let's start with Gal. So where's the Gal chart? The only reason I entered the Gal chart was that the 12-hour chart looked really nice, because we have these previous macro lows on Gal, right? We tried to flip in past, and every time we saw a strong sell off from these range lows, right? And ever since it rejected from this macro level. We have been in this range for very long time, right? It's almost like uh it's almost 100 days range, right? We were in. So after consolidating below this macro level, we are finally, we once again tried to flip back this macro level, rejected. We have this downtrend which is respected pretty clean. You can see every time it retested this trend line, it got rejected hard. But finally we tried to reclaim this previous, macro lows. We saw rejection, we retested the trend line, and we pushed back up. So and now we are kind of trying to reclaim back this macro lows, right? And in my opinion, this is a very strong macro SR for it to hold. You can see these highs getting rejected from the same level. You see these lows being held at the same level. So this yellow area is something you that is really pivotal for this coin to flip. And if I am right and we end up holding this level, we should ideally see a move towards, at least towards these highs, right? And even if we just get a push towards these highs, it would be at least a 6-7% move, at least, right? And maybe even if it just pushes towards the next, if we start to see acceptance and trend above this level, then this is the range you should consider, right? So I personally would be looking to TP majority around this mid-range level, around these past highs. But it can even move towards 1.6 from here. So that was pretty much the reasoning I had for the gal chart. Now we can have a look on STX. So, when you switch to a higher time frame, this is like the first obvious level you get. You can see how it was respected in past every time we saw a retest, and right now we are just kind of trading below it. So as long as it's below this macro level, there is nothing to be bullish on. I'm just talking in terms of higher time frame, right? We are on a 3-day chart. So first just go over the our high time frame, and then we can switch to low time frame. So my next level would be somewhere around where it would be. Yeah, maybe this. Not a clean level, but yeah, that's what we could get out. And the next could be around somewhere around. Right. So, you have gotten your levels from your high time frame. Now let's see what we could look to have on our lower time frame charts. Now let's switch to 12 hours. Okay, so you know, you just by going to higher time frame and then switching to lower time frame, yes, we can even switch to 4 hour time frame and we can find out some more triggers. But for now, just looking at the chart, for me, it just seems like a place I don't want to enter at least a long position, right? We are trading below this 3 day level, 3 day resistance we got. We are kind of below this trend line resistance that every time it retested got rejected back down. So the only area on high time frame, if I would be bullish on this chart, is if we start to see this acceptance above, right? So if you start to see this, we flip these previous higher, yeah, you'd call that higher highs. We are starting to be in a uptrend, some kind of uptrend, because we broke structure over here. These were the last swing lows that resulted in lower lows. So the swing highs that resulted in lower lows. So we broke the structure. We are in a small downtrend, making higher highs. So but still, I would wait for this level to be flipped. We break out of this trend. We flip these previous higher highs, and once you see something like this would be a good long trigger for me to take. Right. This is something that I conclude from the 12 hours chart. Maybe we can get some more triggers on 4 hours. Yeah, even on the 4 hours, I don't see anything. At least to try for a long position. To be honest, so you know the only additional level that I get from 4 hours is something like this. If I might have a different color for them since it's a different time frame level, but yeah, to be honest, even on a lower time frame such as 4 hours, I don't have any kind of a bullish trigger on this, especially like this kind of a just a what this isn't bullish, to be honest. Just this kind of curling down price action with these lows left untaken. So the only thing I would suggest you is, if you want to try a long position or any upside exposure, wait for this trend breakout and wait for this yellow area to be flipped. Until then, I won't try any, you know, position on it. And even if you look at your 4 hour that you get out of this price action, even on lower time frame, it is under resistance, right? So if you get this drawn out, you get this level from this supply order block you have. You can see how this has been a good 4 hour resistance in past, flipped, retested, acted as a support, now lost back, and now this same level is acting as resistance. So even on 4 hour time frame, even if you want to play 4 hour, then at least wait for something like this, flip this silver area, gray area, and maybe that. But I personally would still want to see this to happen for me to try any long position. Hope that helped. So, what next coin we have? Cyber, I'll maybe try it towards the end because it's something I don't usually prefer in a alt, something that has ran like 3x and just now grinding down. But yeah, we can have a look. at this, strong run up, I think, what examples I could give of coins that gave you a similar run and then just die down. Let me think of something that did that in the past. Maybe ape. Yeah, maybe. So when you look at the higher time frame on ape, you can see maybe something of similar. You maybe get what I am trying to say, because when you look at ape, you saw a similar. It's almost similar, in fact, right? Even on ape, you saw like a one. Even if you mark out from the lows, you saw almost a 2x run on ape, right? It almost ran 200%. Similarly, on even on cyber, did also give you cyber did like a 3x run, but overall structure looks similar, right? So you see this. You have this 12-hour level on you had on ape. I'm just trying to compare structures, right? That is like one of my favorite things to do. So when I compare these two coins, they give us a similar story. Got listed, right? Ranged for some time. Same goes for a cyber. Got listed, ranged for some time, and then the bid started coming up and they ran pretty strong, right? So same happened. Now what I am trying to say is, you can see once that run on ape ended, it was pretty much the top for foreseeable time, right? So if you are trying to long, I see people trying to bid cyber again, hoping that it gives another 100 200% run up. But when I look at any such past examples, usually if a newly listed coin after consolidation gives you a 200 300 run up and then tops out with a harsh rejection, most probably the top is in, and you should wait for some decent consolidation. Like, see, there wasn't a single time to be bullish on ape ever since it topped out, right? So now when we look at cyber, I see a lot of people trying to build some positions on cyber, hoping for it to give another 100 200% move up. I can be 100% wrong. I don't know what's going behind the DWF labs, whatever that holds a lot of cyber, and whatever is going behind their development team. But when I just purely look at the chart, in my opinion, it most probably is topped out. And once we see a deviation back below $4.95 area, that could be a good simple range play, right? Just consider this to be your 12-hour range. And once you start to see acceptance back below, try shorts, right? Personally, I won't trade this coin because I just don't like to trade such PA. But if you want to trade, I would much rather try shorting it in coming time than getting some longs, right? So yeah, that's all I have to say. Maybe it was helpful. Is there a specific reason why you were using spot charts and not perps? No, no specific reason. The reason I chose the spot chart on STX was that this usually the spot chart gives you a bigger time history to refer to, right? So when you look at the spot chart on STX, you can see you get all this past price action, right? It's almost, you get the price data since 2019. And when I switch to the perps chart, it only gives me data because I remember STX got listed very late. So in fact, it got listed this year, right? So if I want to get some nice higher time frame levels, I can't do that looking at the perps chart. So I rather switch to the spot chart, in which I have a much longer historic price action to refer to. As you said that you look for M5, M30 triggers at range lows or at your point of interest, and you drawn the triggers too. That was kind of chalk. Yeah, that is change of character on lower time frame. So when you see that trigger, you place a stop below that chalk low or range lows. Okay, so if you're specifically asking about the stop loss placement in those triggers, so what I would suggest is, like, for example, let's see this example. So if I was looking to short sol, so I have this level which I got from daily. Are you guys able to hear me? Okay, that's great. So I got this higher time frame level which I got from daily. Now I switch to my lower time frames and look for triggers, right? So the triggers I have is, we have taken out these swing highs, the highs that resulted in the sell down. So we have taken out those highs. We have this top three drive pattern. We broke down the structure. We got the close below the last lows, and I entered the play. Right now, your question was specifically asking about, yeah, and another reason is that we have these triple lows, right? You should have a reason behind your mind before entering a trade. Yes, we have this three drive to top. Yes, we are doing kind of a bearish retest. Yes, we have broken structure, but why should price move the way you want it to, right? In my mind, it was that it has to move to take out these lows, right? So you should have some kind of a reasoning when you enter a trade. So getting back to your question, why, where to place a stop loss? So right, I have discussed about stop loss placement in my previous stream as well. There is a trade off between risk to return and the probability of winning, right? There are people who prefer having higher risk to return than their probability of winning, right? And there's nothing wrong with that mentality as well. You see people entering with like even a 0.5, 0.7% stop loss, and even though their probability of winning decreases, but they get a higher risk to return, and even if they have like a 20-30% win rate, in the long run they still make money, right? That's just a simple logic due to the risk to return being like a 5 hour 6 hour trade. So I personally prefer having a higher win rate over higher risk to return. So typically what people would do entering here is just place their stops above the last highs, right? So if you are entering on your triggers, a lot of people just you saw a break of structure, you saw this three drive top, you saw it taking out the past swing highs, you are seeing these triple equal lows to be taken out. One method could be just simply placing it above the last highs, but that also means placing your stop at the most obvious area, right? So if market goes for another liquidity grab above, you are the one ending up becoming the liquidity for the market, right? You are placing your stops at the very obvious area. So for me, I like to place stop losses, like even if I don't have any point of interest above, I would just place my stop loss like 1 to 2% away from these highs, just in the case that market even if goes for this sweep and reverses, my stops are still safe, right? And usually what I like to see is, when I get my obvious invalidation which is above these highs, I then see what is the next best point of interest I can find above which I can place my stops. So what I found was, this is the high time frame supply we have, right? So this is the high time frame supply we have, right? So I, instead of placing the stops right above these highs, which would be really obvious place to place a stop loss, I rather placed it above the next point of interest we have above these highs, which is this high time frame supply block. So I instead placed my stop right above this supply block and the highest resting here. So I have my stop loss around 21.1. So maybe that helps a bit. Let me clean my chart. Okay, so when you ask a question, you need to also reply if you get the answer or not. Okay, so what are the things we have? Okay, so you did answer on the charts, and so we can say that you have confidence about stop loss above that supply. If there was no supply and just FAG, when it would be above the change of character high, and just FAG, then it would be above that change of character high. So again, I would never place my stop loss above a obvious high, right? Even if I have no point of interest above these highs, I would just leave like a 2% margin and just place my stop at a random level at 2% higher than the level I have. And that point of interest doesn't always need to be a supply. Even if there was no block and this was just like a single impulsive move down, as you said, I would just draw out my imbalance and I would place my stop loss above the imbalance equilibrium. Right? So maybe my internet connection got lost in the last thing I said. So I said that even if there is no supply zone above the invalidation level I have, you can even look at the imbalances, right? So for example, if you didn't have the supply block over here, this was just one candle impulsive move down, I would just draw out my imbalance and I would simply just place my stop loss above the imbalance equilibrium or above the entire imbalance, right? So you can use your imbalances, you can use your supply blocks, anything, just don't place it at the very obvious level and you don't end up becoming the liquidity for the market, right? Can you guys hear me? Are you people dead or am I not audible? Okay, that's great. So you people need to, you know, contribute to the discussion as well, or else it just seems like I'm talking to myself. So what are the things can we look at? Okay, so looks like it was a good decision to get out of the SFP play. What's Carl doing right now? Yeah, Carl's pretty much holding the level. What's BTC doing? Yeah, just chopping around for now. Yeah, no, no, I'm not entering SFP again. For now, I'm just being patient on any upside exposure. So, okay, give me like a minute and then we go for more alt charts. No worries, brother. One more question. What if your 12-hour chart, like Carl, is above a big level but lower time frame? Yeah, so your if I put your question in simple words, is that what if your lower time frame triggers are conflicting with your higher time frame levels, right? For example, if we are at higher time frame supply zone but at lower time frame the price action seems bullish, so what would you do? So for that, that is a bit subjective and depends on the context of the price action. So yeah, let's look at an example, right? Let's say this is a higher time frame supply I have, right? This is like a 12-hour supply block. So we have something like this: price consolidated, formed a supply block and sold back down. So the next time price is going up, right? Now when you switch at lower time frame, let's say this is the high time frame supply and now I switch to 5 minutes or a 30 minutes chart, right? Now what I am seeing is that ideally, if this is a high time frame supply, the price should see a strong sell off from it sooner, right? But instead, what I get to see is price rejects. You see kind of a, okay, let me draw you a complete price action. So, okay, let me do that again. Okay, so you have something like this, right? Price after the strong sell off, we have this higher time frame supply, and the price is going back towards this higher time frame supply retest. Now I switch to my lower time frame and I see price strongly trending towards that supply. But after this first rejection, the price goes to for another retest of this higher time frame supply, rejects again, you know and then goes back up, rejects again, and you are seeing that every time the price retest this higher time frame supply, the sell off becomes the sell offs become weaker and weaker, right? The first time it sold down but still maintained its structure, never broke the structure on lower time frame. The second time it went for the retest, the sell off was a bit weaker. We didn't go even closer to the past lows. The third time it retested the supply, the sell off was even lesser than before. So if I am seeing something like this below a higher time frame supply, even though my lower time frame triggers are conflicting with my higher time frame point of interest, because technically you shouldn't be bullish at something that is at higher time frame supply, right? But when I am observing this on lower time frame, rather than trying to short this, I would rather wait and be very attentive to this price action. And as soon as I see price breaking above, I would just start scaling into longs instead of shorting this price action, because what I am seeing is that the price doesn't want to reverse from this higher point of interest, right? Because every time on the lower time frame price retests, the sell off becomes weaker and weaker, and we keep on grinding closer and closer to the point of interest, right? So for me, that is a bullish consolidation below a high time frame resistance or a supply. For me, that is kind of a price action that usually breaks above, and usually the price action that people just keep on building shorts over here just because it's under a high time frame supply zone. But when I closely observe the low time frame price action, I would rather try to look for longs than trying to short it, right? So even on the high time frame point of interest, the low time frame price action matters a lot. So maybe you know that could be helpful. I don't know who asked that, to be honest. Yeah, it was Shaur, so maybe that did answer that. So in summary, it is a bit, it depends on the context of the price, but yes, it isn't always that I go with my higher time frame point of interest. That, for example, if we are below a higher time frame resistance or below a higher time frame supply, it's not always the case that I'll be bearish there, right? It also depends upon how lower time frame price reacts with that higher time frame point of interest. Did you DC a gal? No, it's a challenge trade, so I just enter the trade with my entire balance at a single entry price, right? I don't DC or add low. So I guess this stream is getting boring more and more, so people are starting to leave. They just want to hear about long short. That's it. Can you look at WLD? Yeah, we can have a look at WLD. It's like WLD is kind of one of the most hot alt on Twitter right now. Everyone's talking about it. So if you know my style of trading, I usually try to stay away from, like a week ago it was Sol. Every other person was talking about either shorting Sol due to those FTX sell off, or maybe longing it for a short squeeze. I just stayed away from it because I don't like to be in trades that are overcrowded, right? Because those kind of coins don't give you the cleanest price action. So let's see. Yeah, no, I'll just use this level instead. Okay, so for WLD, to be honest, especially the amount of people I am seeing on CT getting bullish over this coin, while it could just be a small relief rally, even if it's bullish, I don't, especially after these high time frame candles and this kind of a top we had, I'll be patient on any WLD position, to be honest. So I just like to mark out my scenarios, right? So the only two scenarios I would be looking to bid WLD is, you can see we have these lows. Okay, wait a minute. You can see we have these lows, right? So these are kind of a lows that gave you these poor highs. So ideally what I would want to see is the price to retest this 4-hour SR level, right? On 4-hour you can see how well this level has been respected in the past, right? You saw these rejections, these acceptances above, right? So the base I would like to bid WLD for a long position is, we take out these lows, we see a bounce from this 4-hour SR, and we once we reclaim back these lows, right? This is the long trigger I can have, right? And on, this is like a 4-hour time frame I'm talking about, and when I switch on lower time frame, the ideal trigger I would want to see is something like this, right? A sweep, break of structure, and a bit of consolidation, and try a long position, right? So this could be a really good setup on WLD if we take out these lows, retest 1.35 level. Or on the other hand, you can see these were the past lows that led to lower high and this major sell off. So these lows should be acting as a good resistance for us to flip in coming time, which is kind of acting well for now. So even if we don't get this retest we talked about, if we are bullish and continue trending above, I would rather wait for a push up and flip to try a position. So, either this or this. I don't think there is anything to enter right now, especially after this kind of a candle close we had on H4. And, I don't like the stop, to be honest. So, even if we are bullish, not saying that this is bearish and something you start shorting, but if it is bullish, wait for this flip and enter over here. Trading isn't about getting better entries. Like, if someone enters here and there is a person who enters here, I would rather appreciate who entered here, because his probability of succeeding was much more of the person who entered over here in the middle of nowhere, right? Even if it goes up, wait for a higher probable setup, wait for this flip, or wait for this retest. Okay, I appreciate everything that's being said. So what are the coins we have? Can you look at AVAX? I don't know why would any would even want to look at AVAX. This AVAX is like the most dead coin on the market right now. Like, when I look at this 3-day chart, I don't know what to conclude out of this. Especially ever since it lost its last swing lows it had right before the major run. This was the level I was kind of, we had this macro equal lows, whatever you call them. So the least I was expecting right here. I in previous week I was looking for a AVAX play, but it was somewhere around here, right in this green candle. What I was expecting was that price takes out these lows, reclaim back above, and if it gives some kind of a break of structure and consolidation, I would enter for some relief play on AVAX, right? Maybe even target something like this. It could be a good swing play, if you are playing this higher time frame chart. But what you see is that it's so weak right now that even after the sweep and this something that's been selling off so hard for past days, if it has some sort of strength, at least it should give some reaction out of the sweep, right? But nothing so far, right? Still pretty weak. Even after the sweep, it tried to reclaim over here and see, it just did a bearish retest of these lows and is back down. So, like this is a coin that I'll just simply leave for coming months, because I am pretty sure what is it's going to do is, I've seen a lot of these dead charts, especially once they lose these previous major lows. What they would do in coming time is just give you this sort of a grind down consolidation for a very long time. So don't expect, AVAX to just river. What did I do? So, don't expect, AVAX to just form a bottom here and do something like this, right? The once it has lost these macro lows, the only thing you can expect it to do is something like this, right? For coming months, for very long time, form this consolidation, grind down, starts to accumulate and enter at, reclaim at break above, right? If I give you a cleaner representation of what I mean, so, you know, this is what I expect AVAX to do in coming time, right? So, once you see something like this, you know, accumulation, deviation, macro deviation, accumulation below macro range lows. Once it finishes this accumulation phase, enter at the breakout. I'm just talking about really high time frame, right? So, this is the place where you would want to get into some swing positions. But for now, it's pretty much dead. And, as I said, even, if I ignore this high time frame chart and I just switch to my 30 minutes 4-hour time frame, but as I said, even when I'm playing lower time frame, I need to have some high time frame context to my thesis, right? So, even if this starts to look bullish on 30 minutes or 4-hour time frame, I would still have this in my mind that it is something that looks like this on higher time frame. So I simply can't be bullish on any time frame on a coin that looks like this. So unless it reclaims back this range lows, so until it reclaims back 9.5 level, this is something that I won't be trading in coming time, right? So let's try looking at it on lower time frames. Nothing interesting, to be honest. So, this is a good setup for you to wait for, right? If it gives, you have this kind of a falling wedge. So, if price breaks out and, you have your past swing highs over here, these are the swing highs that led to new swing lows, right? The highs at 9.5 sold down to the lows of 8.7. So if we break out of this falling wedge and we see acceptance above the last swing highs and acceptance above this 9.5 level macro previous lows level, if you get to see this is something you could bid long on, right? Because then you can have targets of these highs and you can target for relief higher. So, entering over here, I don't see anything of any interest, to be honest. It just keeps on selling, nothing else. So, don't even want to short over here, right? Considering how oversold it looks, I don't even have a major thesis for a short trade over here. So the only valid setup I could have here is, you have these macro lows level at 9.5, you have this falling wedge, so, and you have your past swing highs at 9.5 level as well. So once we break out of this, once you see a flip of 9.5, that is your long trigger to take. Hopefully that made some sense. Okay, my vape battery also died down. Let me grab a charger. Okay, so AUX is done. IDEX. Why would you ask about IDX? Okay, but we can have a look. I was looking at IDX this morning because it was giving some decent open interest change for past 24 hours. Let's see what it's doing right now. I don't know, to be honest, really weird. Price action, the only thing I could look on this is also, I don't know, just my instincts also looks a bit scam pump type of something that could push up to take out these highs. But we could get a more clearer picture if we. Yeah, I remember it. So yes, we can switch to CoinLies because I was in TX this morning. Let's see if we have any decent triggers on CoinLies on this coin. So yeah, we do have something that I could share. Wait, let me switch my screen. So this is the CoinLies chart on IDX. So the only reasonable setup I can find on this is for a scam pump that this is the consolidation phase it has entered ever since it ran how much since the lows. It ran almost like a 6%. Still nothing, to be honest, nothing big, nothing something you call as a shit, as a scam run, but it did give you like a 30% open interest pile up today. So, just a typical shitcoin setup that I like to play a lot is that while it ranges and consolidates on lower time frame, the open interest keeps on trending above, right? If you see something like this in coming time, right, you see like a 30-40% open interest build up while price is just consolidating, going into a tight range, and then you start to see some trend above towards the highest, something like this is where you enter for a breakout play and target like a 5-10% move. So that is something I could only look for IDX. Other than that, I don't find any good setup on it. How long has it been since I started streaming? I think, let me check. I started the stream around 11:40. It's 1:20, almost approaching 2 hours. Yo, when is the stream being recorded right now or not? I couldn't listen you if you tried to speak. Well, that's great. Okay, so if there is anything else you people want, please no more chart request, because to be honest, I'm pretty much done with continuous charting for the past few hours and just explaining the price action. So if you have anything else to discuss other than chart requests, feel free to mention. No, I'm not eating anything. That was just iced coffee. I'm just trying to extract the leftover since my throat is dry from continuous speaking and I don't have any water near me. Brother, that's haram. We only do halal things. I'll keep you warning. Let's switch back to the overall thoughts on market. As long as BTC is looking like this on lower time frame, don't bet. Please don't be one that gets caught in a market wide flush if we get. Just be a cautious even if you are taking any longs. Do it with a smaller risk. Just protect your capital for now. So before I end the stream, I'll just go over my thoughts on the market really quick and then I'll end the stream. So my overall thoughts is, okay, let's start. So this annoys me. Let me clean it up. Okay, sorry. So, my thoughts for now is that ever since we deviated back below 27.1, which we have seen in the high time frame, is the macro range lows, which we need to see acceptance above. So, ever since we lost 1K, we have a big point of interest above to flip. Below that, it's still really bearish. We have this H4 supply, we have this H4 imbalance, we have these previous macro range lows. So until or unless you get to see this, because, and to be honest, if you are bullish and the market is bullish, it doesn't hurt for you to wait for a few $100 move up and enter at the confirmation at flip here, right? So anything here is still bearish. If it gives something like this, I'll flip bullish. That's the time you start scaling into the longs, because once you see acceptance back above 27K, the price is going to go towards these highs left behind, this high left, and the imbalances left above. So you could still squeeze out a decent move out of the market if you just be patient for now, because we still have these lows unleft. And on the other hand, if we see a push up on the market without taking out these lows, we'll mark out our M4R imbalance, and as soon as we tap the equilibrium and see some good loss of momentum and rejection out of it, that is for adding on to the shorts. And for shorts, I mean, we have a decent play on Sol going on. So even if Sol gives a push up and does something like this, I'll add more to shorts, and my target still remains these triple equal lows resting below. So Sol would be my top play that I would be adding a lot of my position into. Maybe APT, and the reasoning being bearish on the coin I have mentioned, because this was the past range we were in. We are kind of started deviating below this range. So if market pushes down, it would just die down. And especially there are, as I said, I also need to build some thesis in my mind that even if we are seeing this deviation below the previous range, why should the price move down? When I look at the left, I see this huge inefficiency that the price never failed or retested back then, right? So if the market starts to sell down, this is going to be one of the type of a coin that comes in your losers list, because it would give you some big candles down to just fill out this imbalance, right? So APT is the one of the coins. APT and Sol, these are the two coins that we are going to short once we see this, triggers filled on BTC. Once we see something like this, we are going to add to our Sol and APT shorts. If we don't give something like this, if we retest the previous range highs at 26.3 and we see some decent consolidation after taking out these lows, I'll just TP shorts and see if I see some triggers and structure to flip bullish. Other than that, just be patient for now, to be honest. That's all I had from my side. Michael thinks 26.1 and back above. Let's see what happens, right? Let's see. So, also really interesting would be, the most interesting part in coming days would be to see how this opens, right? Because my most bearishness is based on how bad the stocks look, right? So I'm really curious to see how the stocks on Sunday night opens. So if this sell off continues, then just say Allah Hafiz to crypto, because it's definitely going to follow that. You can't keep you know expecting stocks to keep selling down in coming time and crypto to keep going up, right? This decorrelation exists, but it only exists in lower time frame, right? For a few hours you can see stocks selling down and crypto outperforming stocks, but on higher time frame, if the trend reverses on stocks, crypto is going to do the same. So really curious about how the futures open on Sunday night. So that is also something you need to keep an eye on. So yeah, that's it from my side. Be patient, wait for your triggers, don't over risk on weekend. That's all I have to say. Hope you people had a good stream, had a good time. Take care, enjoy the weekend. Allah Hafiz.